questionnaire. You're going to click Art Support, and again, I'll put this in email, so don't worry about feeling like you have to remember this after this conversation. You click Art Support, it pings it for them to know that this is related to an art project. When Maria and myself and Brody start mapping and start thinking about where projects go, especially honorarium and core, we think about where their camps potentially going to be as well as their piece, so that they're as close to possible as possible. Sometimes, honestly, especially with core, there may be still some distance because of the size, depending on how we're playing with things. But we want to make your commute to your piece as easy as possible.
The DC Corps right now is not planning having a specific camp for them.
It doesn't matter if it's, let's say you've got, that's a great question. Let's say there's, I'm making things up, I'm going to use DC as an example. Let's say you've got 10 people that are coming in early, 12 people that are coming in early. And let's say 3 of them are going to camp with Illumination Village, which you know is already set up, they know where that's going to be. You have everyone else who's either going to camp together or camp by themselves in different places. If they're still going to want to camp before G, they're still going to have to work with placement. So they're still going to have to fill something out to flag them, to be able to say, I want to be before G. Or if they don't want to, what they can do is you can camp by your effigy while you're building. You have to clean up and move by sunrise. When the gates open, if they open on Sunday, as we expect, you could move into any of those open spots. Because at that point, as soon as the gates open, all the reserved space is gone and it's all free for all. It's a little hectic though, because you may have just set up a kitchen and you're home, and then you're moving it somewhere, and you're kind of holding it in situ before you race, 12 hours on to go find a place. But that is an option for you. Or you could camp at G and then move up closer.
Okay, well, because one of the reasons I'm on the DC Corps committee but not being actively involved, I have a large DC camp that I'm actually running, and I'm trying to consider whether or not I'm going to adopt the Corps and have them all camp at our camp, and we're going to be there a week early, so.
Yeah, I think that some of it, and they're going to be, for you guys, and we're going to talk about this, about meetings and what you're going to get from us and things like that, like early arrivals and things of that ilk. So we can talk, in each of our one-on-one conversations, we can talk more in depth about this, send out to the list and things like that. The goal is placement wants to know who is camping there early so they can help figure out where they're going to go. That's the goal. So if it's one person versus 50 people, and we can address each situation as it needs to be addressed.
Well, that's the thing too, is my camp is more than just the Corps, and we're going to want our placement on where our camp wants to be, not where it makes it convenient from the Corps members.
That's fine. You know what you can do is you can say, what I would say is for the project leads, we're going to have our meetings with the project leads. The burn lead, project lead, often the regional contact too, depending on how involved they are in the project. At that point, we'll talk about what camp is associated with the effigies. So if someone's got 5 different camps associated, but if where the project lead is and the fire lead, that's what we're going to really kind of care about. Right. Because if there's a problem or something like that, they're the ones that we worry about, and they're the ones who are the most skin in the game for that.
Well, I do know that the project lead for the DC Corps is camping within our camp.
There you go.
All right.
So what we'll do for yours is you're going to fill out a theme camp questionnaire anyways.
Yeah.
You should go ahead and note in that hey, we're also doing a core piece. And again, that triggers for placement to make sure that we talk to them and we talk with each other.
Okay.
If we camp at the effigy, can we pack up the day before free-for-all and pack up and move outside of row G?
Yes. You can do that.
So we'd have everything there and then pack up, so we don't get caught in the land rush. We can just finish up, move outside row G, or move to wherever placement's got us, whatever, and get away from the FG and get up there.
If you got, so let's say you're being placed, what we strongly suggest, we as the art department, with the open ply and managing the art there, we as a way to help support the artists, we do make it feasible for you to camp while you're building your project. Not everybody, but you guys are honorariums, it's the honorarium projects and the core projects, and we want to do that too. Not every artist gets to do that. But we do like to think, and my boyfriend Beeve can talk about it, we want you to start transitioning to the city towards the latter part of the week. Because we want to come and check out your spots and where you've been camping on play. If you're camping at your effigy place, to make sure you've left no trace. Because here's the trick, is that you're responsible for that area. And you want us to walk in and say, nope, they've left no trace, everything looks beautiful, it's all set. So then someone comes in and drops something and it's near where your camp was, which is a little further out, we can't say, wait, that was your camp area, wasn't it? That someone dropped that. it helps to save you a little bit. And then, so there will be like a transition plan, and a lot of people, what they do is they start to peel people off from their project into their camps to start setting up camps. And then if they're a theme camp, there's kind of like a marriage happening where other people are coming in to set up more formal, long-term camping.
Yeah, I can see that'd be good, because also I can see how, if you said everybody need to be moved on Sunday, if people didn't start moving out Thursday, Friday.
Saturday they should really move, because Sunrise Sunday, I want to have a mimosa in hand,
Yeah,
toasting you guys, saying you guys are clean and clear and everybody's moved and everything's set up.
right, yeah, and if they're not starting to move early, you know how it is. You know, oh, yeah, we'll be out by 6 o'clock. Well, it's 7 o'clock and your tent is still set up.
Right.
And you're drinking beer, not putting, yeah.
We'd never know anything about that when we so, not at all. So,
Okay, so I just wanted to touch on some of the challenges and success. Obviously, you're going to be doing a lot of work on your build here, and that's a really great time for you guys to build your community. Obviously, when you're doing a lot of your pre-event fabrication, that's when you're really drawing on the members of your community to come on out and help you and stuff. And that's where I think that regional communities are really growing strong and a chance for new members to come on. It's a lot of, regionals have a lot of events where they have maybe some drinks or they go out and go bowling together or whatever, but you really start bonding when you're working on projects together and you're going through the whole artistic experience and the descent into artistic madness, so to speak, and that's the times to really get together and build your community. And then it's really always an awesome pleasure then and a reward to all those community players to see it go from the mock-up phase to where it's just wood in your shop to eventually it coming together out there on the fly into a real and fabulous project. You can see here what Betty June was talking about on the camping here next to your piece. This was their little build zone while they're assembling it here, and they're able to quickly remove that right when they got the go-ahead to go to their camping areas.
and Austin was moved out and set up very early. Yay, Austin.
Well, that was
So-
just shade. We actually we set up one camp. That's why I was asking about it. We set up a camp directly in line on the playa with our piece. And then we never had to move, because that's brutal. I'll tell you, I'd never camp next to my piece and then have to break down and move. Oh, that's tough.
Depends. Some people see it as a good thing because if you've got people who don't like to wake up early and you want to get a lot of stuff done for getting people going versus having to try to transport them. So you have to look at the needs and the personalities of your own crew.
Right.
But also for some projects it can be detrimental too, because your crew is fried by the time you're done with the construction, and it can be very difficult. We maybe saw some examples, and I won't point fingers to it, in the movie last night too, where they ended up frazzled near the end of their build period.
And if we're not camping near the effigy, the shuttle bus is gonna come around and take us to our effigy.
The air
every
conditioned
30
one with the
minutes.
fruit
I think-
slices, so when you get in.
What you're referring to is the DPW tow truck with the hook, which will hook onto your possessions and drag them. And of course, in the end, we are going to burn all of this stuff. And I always find this to be the most amazing thing of all involved in this whole coal project is most festivals in the U.S. or really anywhere else would be happy to burn any one of these projects singularly and call it a day and feel like they're completely victorious. And for us, this is just a Thursday. This is like the chips and salsa of Burning Man. It's just the appetizer, and we're burning 30 or 24 giant structures all simultaneously. I can't think of any other place in the world where they were taking on this kind of ambitious challenge as far as logistics and burning here. And we're really lucky in Nevada that we don't have spare the air days, or we could really end up in trouble for this. And yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, the people who come and see that are just filled with the same kind of wonder that you would get at your one regional burn, except it's on a vast scale of, by this time of the event, it's 50,000 or more people coming out for this great event. And this is the time for you guys to all be the rock stars of the event. Last night when we were watching the movie about the Spark movie, people and individual characters in the movie were getting some applause, but every time they showed an art piece, there was tremendous applause for the art pieces. And as I was saying as our art department lunch today, I feel like the art is the stars, and it was reflected in that movie, and the art is like the Bono of the event here or whatever. We don't need to like put up who's playing Burning Man, but people actively seek out on the websites of what art is coming to the Burning Man. That's the star of it. And the art department is like the Bill Graham of the organizing. So Betty Jean added, without the fiery helicopter crash. I might go for the fiery helicopter crash again,
I won't.
but not Betty
I'll
June.
pass. Yeah.
So you're saying our art projects are the Justin Bieber of the event?
Well, I mean, you can use whatever metaphor.
Don't go there.
If you feel like Justin Bieber is a good metaphor, you can roll with it.
That's a good idea.
So now we want to talk a little bit about the process and some of the details that are involved in making this happen. And this is the time to pull out your pens and paper, folks. This is where the meat of this little talk is going to happen. And Betty June is just going to briefly discuss the gift things that you can get from us, things that we're going to provide for your piece, and things that are available for purchase from Burning Man. So take it away, and here's your
Thank you. So you guys are honorariums. So you are the people, you are grant recipients, and we're thrilled about it, we're excited. And as a funded project, there's certain things that we make available to you. First, of course, we don't have it on the list, but it's the $1,000 honorarium we're giving each of you guys. We upped it last year from $500 to $1,000, which is great news. We also are going to gift you your DG, so you don't have to worry about DG. So don't worry, we are going to work with you to talk about the details of your piece and figure out how much DG needs to go there. You're going to be responsible for spreading it, and Doxy and Dave will be talking a lot about that, but we're going to gift it to you, so we'll already be there. Tickets, we're going to give you 10 gift tickets too. So again, we upped this up from 5 last year because we realized there's a lot of people and a lot of work that needs to happen. And you may have possible access to staff, what we call staff price tickets or discounted tickets, and those are $180 each. In our one-on-one conversation, we'll talk a little bit about your crew, how many people you've got, how many still need tickets, that sort of thing to figure out what you need. So just to let you know. Early arrivals, and this is something we're going to work really closely on. We are going to give your crew early arrivals. We will not be giving you early arrivals for your camp. So there's a weird line that we're going to have to follow and work together in helping to identify where the line is and making sure placement knows as well. So we'll make sure that you have enough early arrivals to get the appropriate number of people out there to finish your piece. We also will give you some ice to help you pre-Artica opening too, because we know Artica does open the Wednesday before the event in downtown Black Rock City, but we know that if you guys come down a little bit earlier and you've got food you're storing or other things, or for that nice cold beverage at the end of the day, we can help you with some ice as well. We're not going to go crazy, but we definitely want to make sure to make this as easy as possible. It goes right along with that whole shuttle bus, right? So.
You said the ice normally opens on Wednesday, but you might have it open earlier for core project.
Core projects for honorarium, the art department
Yeah.
pays so for you guys to be able to have some access to ice.
But
And we'll give you more details.
But if you're not part of the core project, but you do have an early arrival, you can get ice starting on Wednesday?
Yeah.
On Wednesday,
Okay.
yes. Oh, yeah, Artica.
Well, you were asking about prior to Wednesday, I
But you know, he said starting on Wednesday.
No, I'm
because
saying
like-
if I have an early pass, I can get ice on Wednesday.
Yes, Artica opens, and we'll send this out for, I don't know
But
the exact hours,
you're
for
talking
short
about,
window.
you're talking about even prior.
We're talking prior to
Okay,
that.
right, okay.
So let's say people are coming in on Sunday, Monday, or
Yeah.
whatever, and again, we'll discuss your exact dates in our conversation when we talk about your install plan. If you need ice sooner because you brought in all your groceries and whatnot, we can work with you on that. Yes.
Will there be a power grid that we can plug into?
Power, should put power, yes, there will be. So we're working again with Snow Cone Solar. And those of you who worked with them last year, from what I understand, it's super close. You're gonna get a little outlet very close to your effigy. Bring cables too, just in case for plugging in, and especially depending what your lighting design is like. But they had it last year up on Tuesday. So, yeah, I think that we had some problems. So power is gonna be its own discussion we'll have with all of you guys, and then we'll have like a dialogue on the list as well. We're gonna work with you to figure out what your power pulls expected are. Make sure, I think it was like 200, right?
I can't remember.
Something like that was roughly what everybody got, was supposed to have roughly, but we know some people, it kind of goes up and down. And we will actually even talk to you guys about what type of lights you can get. So you may say, I've got these great cans that are la 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 la. Our Silicon Solar and our other lighting experts, like Mr. Blue back there, can often suggest different types of lights you can use that has a much smaller energy pull, so you can stay within that confine. Again, we want you to realize what your lighting design is. Again, thinking about opalescence and everything with the beautiful lights and stuff like that. They did a great job in being able to manage it and stay within our guidelines. So we will work with you on that. And again, so think Tuesday afternoon for power.
Tuesday pre-event?
Pre-event.
Okay.
So again, if you're coming earlier and you're needing to do stuff, and you may need access to power in another way, just to let you know.
And most power tools are going to draw well over the wattage of that grid, so don't think you're going to be able to run your skill saws or your table saw or your other power tools off of that solar array. That you should bring some kind of small generator or whatever power means you need for your construction aspects. It's more for lighting and the ambience of it.
And think about it this way too, you guys will know where you are. It probably will be beginning of July, we'll let you know where you are in the circles, maybe a little bit before then. At that point, you can also see about sharing resources. So maybe somebody within your circle or close by has a generator that they can bring you, your like will split gas or cost for gas to be able to run it, you can work it together. Something along those lines. Yes?
Is there an estimate on what the wattages will be allowed for this year?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But 200, I think, was what it was. The last two is what sticks in my brain as a memory. And someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I'll double check. Yes?
I had a drawing from the first one, and it was 300. I don't know if that actually.
But
is what
it
played
evened out. So the even out comes out to about 200 per effigy, or was in the past.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if it was actually what played out. It was just a drawing that I saw two times.
Yeah, so we'll let you know.
Okay.
We'll let you know. And again, reach out both to the group, because on the core list, it's a perennial list. So there's the old core people are also on that, meaning that you can ask them questions about lighting too, if you're having a hard time when you start to estimate your power poles.
200 watts, amps, volts.
This is
It was watts.
watts.
Watts, okay.
At 110
You're not
volts.
going to get 300 amps.
Because that's why he does it.
Yeah.
We also make heavy equipment available too. So let's think about if you need to auger any holes, and we'll work with you on that for figuring out for burns so we don't burn the fly out. Or let's say trenching, if you want to do some stuff. Or if you need a forklift to help lift things out or anything like that, or a crane to put things on top, we'll work with you. And Ben, who is our Art Support Services Manager, will also be in touch with you, talk to you about your heavy equipment needs.
And really quickly, I want to add on to that heavy equipment part that there's some logistics involved in that. The DG does not want to go down until you've done all your trenching and you've placed your stuff that needs to go in trenches or holes or augering, so that you're not dumping DG into that or digging through it or whatever. And then when you're pulling stuff out, the reverse is true, where you want to make sure that you're clearing your DG away from where you have any cables before you pull that cable out. Otherwise, DG is going to fall into the hole where you've pulled your cable out, and then it'll come up in lines as the rains come later. And the same with augered holes especially. So make sure anywhere you've augered at during your morning cleanup process that you do on Friday morning, to remove all that DG away from those areas before you pull up the cords. And again, you're in like fog phase on that Friday morning, and it's difficult to remember, so make sure you're drilling that into your team members before.
And we'll remind you, this is not the only time you'll hear this. You'll hear this several different times to help you, just because like Dave said, you get into such a fog with so many details and logistics, you guys are managing. So we're always here to help. So available for purchase. So there's a few things that we make available for funded artists to be able to have access to on Playa. One of it's fuel. So again, let's go back to the idea that you have a generator that you want to do, or there's 4 groups that are doing flame effects. You can actually buy fuel from us. We can give, when we have our one-on-one conversation, we'll talk about estimations you have for fuel needs. So if you're going to have a generator saying, it looks like I'm going to need 20 gallons of diesel for my generator, or something along, or I'm doing flame effects, I need X amount of pounds or gallons of propane or something along those lines, and we'll let you know the price. We don't mark it up, it's just real world prices, and we'll work on the logistics for that. We also, light towers. We have the possibility of maybe you being able to get light towers. We've gotten so professional in our tracking of things that we are now to the point where DPW is renting them to artists at $20 a day, plus the cost of fuel. Which is great, because in the past the challenge has been we've had fewer light towers for more artists. Now that we're actually renting them, we're hoping that we increase dramatically the number that we have available. Again, it'll be in part of our conversation when you talk to Ben or when you talk to us and mention if you want a light tower. And light tower is basically pre-event, we're going to work at night, we need to be able to see easily, have it come out.
It's also very important that you light your site during the night so that vehicles, bikes, and people don't get caught up on those pieces.
And even light your materials. Like if you have a stack of wood, we've had a couple times in the past DPW helping out saw some lost lumber that was just left in the dark in the middle of the night, scooped it up, took it away, and then the artist shows up the next day like, you know, where's all my wood gone to? And trying to find it is tricky. Besides people running into it. Also water. And I'll talk about fireworks in a second. Water. So we make, if you have a big camp, let's say everybody's camping together, you can buy potable water from us. The minimum is 55 gallons, and you have a sanitized container. So you can start to talk to other people, so instead of bringing and trucking your water in, if you want to do that, if you got like a cube or something like that, it can be really useful. We also fire.
How much are you talking about roughly, you think, for like 55 gallons of water?
Well, it's 50 cents a gallon,
Yep.
so, you know, it's pretty cheap.
Cheaper than it is in dirt bike.
Yeah, right.
And we'll wasteful than all that. And it comes straight into you, so, which is nice.
Do we need to provide a container for it?
You do. And we'll send out information on the list about how to sanitize, and again, the minimum for container size, but we wanted to let you guys know early, so you can start talking to people and thinking about it.
Okay, so, you all probably already thought of this, but one of those, the water tanks or liquid tanks that fertilizer and soda comes and things like that, 250 gallon cubes.
You can do one of
It
those.
doesn't weigh much at all, you can get that early, set it up in your camp.
You need to sanitize it. Now, this is going to be the tricky thing, because this is something that one of the temples a while ago had a problem. They bought something that was brand new. They thought, okay, it's brand new, it's off the shelf, it's got to be clean. And it's not sanitized. So then what they had to do is pay for us to fill it up and add bleach, let it sit for a day, pump, fill it out, rinse it out, and then fill it in. So it took like 2 days to get their water, and they paid 3 times for one fill. So it can be
Yeah, so
pricey.
make sure your container is
Sanitized.
ready to roll.
And again, we'll send information out on the list telling you how to properly sanitize it. It's really serious. We don't want you guys to get sick.
I would also be very careful when you're buying those salvage plastic tanks that you're not getting a fertilizer one, that you're not getting chemicals or other toxic things or other very odorized things where you end up having, you know, almond flavor oil water
Exactly.
because it's full of almond
Because
oil.
some of those are food grade and some of those are Roundup. You know, so everything goes in, so if I'm gonna drink out of it, I'm buying brand new. My drinking ones are all brand new, and the stuff that goes in my garden.
Yeah, be very careful with that.
If somebody on your team starts going in the dark, you just sit down.
As long as you don't go above 20 feet, sure. Other thing we have is firewood, so you can buy firewood from us. So if you're thinking about your burn plan and your kindling to be able to feed the flame and things like that, it's $140 for a pallet, which is half a cord. If you say you want wood, you're gonna have to pay for it. So it's one of those things that we had, I think, we had a team last year who ordered it and realized they didn't need it, and so wanted us to take it back. We pay an outside service to bring it, and so we're basically passing along the cost, so you have to pay for it.
Well, how do you get the confirmation on the wood? Because last year we actually purchased it, and then the truck drove by us, I kind of waved.
I think
And
some of it's depending on timing too. I think we had some problems with the wood last year, and we'll remind you this too, bring a tarp to put your wood down on, please, because not everybody did that, and we had some problems with the wood delivery, but I think everybody got theirs.
We ended up not getting ours, and I didn't hear if anybody from New Mexico was here because they saved our butt.
Oh, did they?
And gave us about half of theirs. So, yeah, we missed the boat on that one, or we missed a memo, or you missed a memo.
We should
Something
talk about
happened.
that, because yeah, it's when we were doing much closer accounting for what we're doing for that
Cool.
sort of thing. So wood now, well, water, going back to water to give you a comparison. So wood, you say you want it, you're paying for it. Even if you decide, no, we don't want it. Water, you tell us, yes, we want water, I think it's gonna be 100 gallons. And then you realize all these people are like, I can get water, I'm there. And you get 200 gallons, that's no problem. As long as you've met our minimum and we keep in conversation as much as possible, that's not a problem. That's more of a variable. Fuel too, give us an idea so we have a sense, but it's a little bit more variable because you're not gonna go like, you know, leaps and bounds. Wood is the one that it's like an all or nothing deal.
No.
With the water, do we need to get all that up front, or if we say we get 100 gallons, and then halfway through we find out, wow, we went through way more than we thought to, are we gonna be able to refill that?
Yes,
Okay.
you'll work with us. So the artery is gonna be your main base for if you need anything for your project. The artery, it's the first place you're gonna show up, so don't even go to placement. You're gonna come straight to the artery. We'll call placement to help you figure out your camp placement. We'll show you where your effigy is, where everything's GPS out and everything like that. You need help with heavy equipment, you go to the artery. You need help in getting more water, you go to the artery. If you're having worries about this, that, or the other, come to the artery. We work on the logistics to make it happen. And for talking about cost, so we're gonna give you $1,000 each. We're gonna talk in our one-on-one meetings to estimate your cost for fuel, wood, water, whatever. And then we're gonna figure out how much we're gonna hold back as what we call a performance deposit. We always hold back a performance deposit, which is the money that we use to guarantee that you're gonna come, set up, check in the way you're supposed to, leave no trace, and check out with us. That's really important. If you're buying things from us, we're also gonna hold back enough money to cover that stuff as well. So it's one of those things that ideally, think of it as a debit card in a lot of ways. And kudos to our Dallas lead from last year for knowing that they were going to go way ahead on fuel, had the checklist ready, knew where things were going to go. They had us hold back all the money, and then they still owed us money on top of that because they did the beautiful fire effect. And they were able to pay us additional money there on Playa. For fuel, we have tracking on a daily basis in the artery. And so we can tell you where you are. It was harder to come up with an exact dollar amount because where things came from the market, but we can tell you how many gallons you went through of what different type of thing. And again, we'll go through all this again, but we're just wanting to plant the idea so that when we start talking and say, how much water do you want? How much wood or anything like that, you're not, wood, I could get wood. Because we want to be able to pay you your pre-Playa amount as soon as possible. Because we know that you guys will spend far and away much more than the money that we're giving you. And just getting that little drop in the bucket at least helps. We know that. Does someone have a question?
Yeah. Well, for anybody that hasn't done a core project before, I can vouch for the value of using these resources because trying to haul out all your own fuel and leaving it sitting around camp is a real pain. It's not very safe. And the firewood is tough to manage. They'll come out and deliver it right to the site. So it makes a lot of sense to use their resources.
Are the fuel costs because basically at market cost?
Yes.
Okay. And the water tank that could be located at our camp.
Yep.
Not at the installation.
We had some problems last year with water delivery with a couple of the effigies. So we had a postmortem to talk about it. We figured out ways we're going to be able to flag it to make sure that the water truck knows exactly where to go. And then we can talk about the process. You can either say every other day we're going to need water, or you can say go to the artery and say I need water. Not at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the water trucks are gone, but we can talk about all that.
So one more quick question, and then we got to move on to the
All
next
right,
slide here.
On the non-potable water, are y'all gonna have gray water tanks available to us?
No.
Okay.
And if you want pumping and things like that, you will contact USS yourself, United Site Services yourself.
Okay.
All right, we're going to touch in a little bit about fundraising. I know that several people probably have comments about this.
So we know you're going to be fundraising. We know you're going to be doing a lot of fundraising. And Squishell does an amazing job in helping to pull together a lot of materials to help promote what you're doing, and a lot of different ways to be able to get the word out. We help to leverage, hi Crimson! We leverage everything that we can, the communication tools we have. We're really lucky, and you guys are extra lucky, in that we have a very proactive communications department, and then you guys probably have arguably the strongest arm of the communications department, helping to push the word out as much as possible. We want to see you guys succeed and feel good about things and not people feel spent in the literal sense after it's all done. One of the things, and I wanted to bring it like for Rita, let us know if you're going to do a Kickstarter and you're going to do t-shirts with a man on it or something like that, you have to run it past us. We own the right to our trademarks. This was a problem in Toronto 2 years ago where they wanted to put the moose man ears on it, and they couldn't do that because it was a violation of our trademarks. If you are in essence selling something, which in some ways Kickstarter is, something with our logo or branding on it, you have to work with us to make sure for approval. Again, we want you to succeed. We'll make sure to do whatever we can to help promote, and we want to scream from the mountaintops, this is for Burning Man, for Black Rock City, but there are going to be certain guidelines you need to do.
And this is also an opportunity for you to create a logo for your own project. And if it incorporates the man in some creative interpretation, then that's a permeable membrane. But we really encourage groups to create something that's unique because you'll want that for your swag or for your team t-shirts and patches and things like that. And just before we get into the fundraising, I can't stress enough how important it is at the outset of the project from where you sit right now to designate some roles and some people to own key pieces. The person who has designed and is planning to build the effigy should not be the fundraising lead. There should be a person who's going to help you and who's going to track your finances. And I can't stress enough, have somebody and have a process for handling your funds. It's going to be one thing for the artists and key people to speak with the art department about needs, but within your teams, designate a system for tracking it, and you'll be so grateful later on.
Metas, we'll have Miss Megs or Miss Michelle, we created a document, and that will help you get an idea of all the roles that you'll need and what these roles do, and kind of like a time frame of how to do this. And it may seem like a lot of information, but we've done these projects before, so we're sharing the knowledge that we have because we were the first round to do this. We're like, whoa, and it was awesome and exciting. But this way, it just gives you a template to think about. Oh, I need that person to do that. I hadn't thought about that because we hadn't thought about that. So one person for one role is going to save you guys so much. And it's a great way to get more people in your community involved because some people can't go to that event, but they can help you do that fundraising. Some people, they can't do this, but they can help, make the drawings, do the fundraisers, and build the pieces. So use the community, spread the information, and be boisterous about what you're doing, and just share as much information as possible. It's going to make it so much easier, lighter load for everybody.
And just to punctuate, I know you probably have something, but about the fund, handling the money. We've had a lot of different regionals have some internal strife within their groups about how they handle the funds. So it is really important to take, as soon as you start, like at this point, hopefully you've already started thinking about who's going to be your treasurer, how's it going to be managed, is everybody comfortable? What is going to be an expense that the group is going to share? What is going to be an individual expense? And be really, really, really straightforward about that. Write it down. I mean, again, it sounds silly for right now, but you want later on when you're totally burned out and if you're over budget and everything along those lines, you want to make sure that that's actually happening.
Write it down, transparency.
Be transparent.
Have everything transparent, and then I'm pretty anal on this, but if anybody's going to get reimbursed for anything, they got to turn in a receipt. You know what I mean? It's just, that's just the way you do it. If you start not doing that, you have headaches.
I want to try, I know this is a Q&A here, and I know that we all have a lot of questions, but unfortunately, logistically speaking, we only have 10 minutes left in this group. So I know a lot of these questions you'll have. You can feed back to us through the core list, through yourselves. A lot of what Betty Jean was saying about the core list having the people from past years on it, a lot of these questions you can feed right back into that core list, and we can answer a lot of them, but I feel like I want to get through here before we get to the end of our 10 minutes, and we have so many more awesome regional summit things to attend to today. So on to our key dates and meetings, which is really important stuff. And I want Betty Jean to go through this really quickly. And again, if you have questions, please feed these back to us.
So again, these are the key meetings that you're going to have to be involved in. First one, most important, the one-on-one meeting. Again, we're going to talk about logistics. When are you showing up? How many people? Who's getting the tickets? When do we need information? Do you want fuel, water, et cetera, et cetera? That's a one-on-one conversation we're going to have. Dave and Doxy will introduce some of the fire things to keep in mind as well. Next one is core contract call. That is more of a group call. So we're going to have our individual discussions for what you need and what we're giving you. Then we're going to have the contract. I will send it the day before our call. The project leads and depending on if the RC is involved, will be on the call. We'll all go through the contract together, like a blank contract, to be able to say, this is what this paragraph means, this is what this paragraph means, this is everything like that. It's a legal document. So it's our way of making sure to hold your hand, force you to read it, make sure you understand and answer any questions you may have about it. When you're going to sign it in DocuSign. So the person, for the people who are doing it, so it's going to be all digital signing online, which is great. So you get back to us, then we'll start to send you money. So the other things that you're going to do is a core art resource meeting. So this is a meeting where we're going to have, where we have members from different departments talk. You'll hear more from Ben and Art Support Services. You'll hear more from Sweeping or Kristen about placement, how to handle with camp placement and logistics like that. Cleanup from DA. You'll hear about gate. What's the best way to get your stuff in through the gate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's about an hour and a half long. very, very valuable and mandatory for each group. Then fire meetings. You want to talk about the fire meetings?
Me and Doxy will schedule each one of your groups for a quick discussion about your fire plans. We will send out a group of questions before those meetings, and you're going to feed us that information before the meeting in written form, and then we're going to go through it timeline-wise, how your burn's going to go, logistically, different questions about your burn, and we're creating a very important spreadsheet for that, which we share with emergency services, rangers, people within the organization, and based on your answers to that is really how your burn is going to go, and we're going to need you to really stick to that stuff too. If you're making any changes after that, you're going to have to renegotiate those timelines and those agreements with us. Anything you would add to that, Doxy, as the master of the meeting spreadsheet?
Be on time for those meetings, they're really, really important, and keep in mind that there's 24 of us, 24 groups, so it's really important that you guys be succinct and know what you're talking about. Don't come to the meeting unprepared. It's just, this is really important.
I believe in the past they were an hour meeting, so if you imagine that's 24 hours solid just of your burn meetings. Last year we had 57 burn projects, so that was 57 hours of meetings, plus each contract meeting was so many hours. The logistics of just the meetings are mind-bending within the organization. And then the last meeting that we're going to have prior to your burn is on Wednesday afternoon. I'm going to secure a space in the cafe for us to meet as we did last year, and we're going to have your fire leads, your project leads, and people who are relevant to your group, your perimeter leads, all attend this big meeting within the cafe, and we'll do that on the stage there. I will have secured a private area for us there to have those meetings.
Is that meeting before the gates open?
No, that meeting, when did we do it last year? Oh,
We did Sunday.
It was Sunday, right as the gate was already opening, I believe, so there's not many people
Right
there.
before the
And there won't be many people to compete with us, so it won't be a confusion of people doing contact improv or whatever unsafe
drumming
during that time. So any aspects of the key meetings?
Yeah, I mean, there's just to give you a sense. So plan on for your one-on-one, plan an hour. For your fire meeting, plan on an hour for that as well. For the contract call, plan about an hour or so. So as you can say, for you, it's 3 hours, but for us, it's 3 times 24. And we have 65 honorariums, and
And
we're also
that's
doing
just
this
core.
for as well. So it's kind of busy times.
Without the meetings and the spreadsheet, we would have nothing at Burning Man. I'm going to talk really quickly about the burn here because we've only got about 5 minutes left, but some of the key aspects I want to let you guys know. Last year and the year before, there's been kind of mixed results as far as the perimeter stuff goes, and now, as I said, we're going to be doing the pie slice perimeter. Some of the things I cannot stress enough in this perimeter stuff is to have enough staff beforehand. A lot of people left the perimeter stuff till the last moment and then rounded up any old buffoons that they found back at their camp who were still sober to come out and do that. And that is not the way to do this. The perimeter people are almost the most important people on that burn besides the people who are actually lighting it, because they're the people who are going to keep people from dying in your burn or running into your burn because they're psychotic or for whatever reasons. The moment we at Burning Man lose somebody who's ran into the fire and dies in the fire is the very time that we may lose the ability to do fire at the burn at all. Burning Man without burning is just the man. And nobody here is in favor of that. So please keep this perimeter thing going. There's also been mixed results on the crew identifiers. A lot of times me and Doxy have been suggesting things which we in retrospect have realized are not good, like day glow armbands or whatever, but then they either are covered up through costuming of your people on your perimeter, or people have made t-shirts and then it's cold at night, of course, so they put a jacket over the t-shirt, and everybody who's doing the perimeter, for the audience who's coming to see that, they can't tell if it's Ronnie Raver or Joe Perimeter person. So you want to make sure, yeah, even a laminate means
Is that if
nothing
you can't see
to
it, of course, you're going to
a
position
person.
it.
So make sure you come up with a uniform costume or a uniform jacket or something that's super visible, even orange safety vest for your crew, so that your perimeter is clearly delineated and those people are in charge of the perimeter and there's no question that they're in charge. Like feather fairy wings do not, to me, bespeak person who's in charge of the perimeter. They bespeak something else. So
Part of your budget is your, maybe think about these vests.
think about vests, and you can logo up your vests so that they're swag afterwards. And those same vests that you're using at your core perimeter don't necessarily need to say core perimeter. They could say whatever your region is, and those are the very same vests that you could use at your regional event. and they could transfer right over into your regional, and these become things that are hand-me-downs to 3 generations of regional burners in your area.
Have a flashlight too. It seems like you spotlight somebody when they break perimeter.
Yeah, shining them right in the face with the spotlight is a good way to go, especially with the bicycles that just, again, are oblivious to what you're doing. And touching on bicycles, do not let the dark wad of bikes be set up anywhere near your piece. We often had problems with people doing a tighter inner perimeter during the setup and the fueling of the piece, but then when they go out to set their main perimeter, there are these dark wads of bikes which are all chained together and have to be dragged out of your perimeter scene, and again are causing delays in your project. Remember that the burn schedule that we're going to give you and we're going to set is so important. With 24 pieces at once, if one piece is messing up on that, rather than it throwing off one particular burn, it's going to throw off all of core. And you don't want to be the project that's remembered for hosing the entire project, right? And also, last year, so many of these logistics we would think go beyond saying, but last year we had a problem with one project. They all lit. I'm up on the Burning Man, and I see one project is not going, and I radio over. Well, what's going on in your project? Well, Dave, how do you work the road flare? They didn't know how to actually light the road flare. So we're going to say things which we assume that you're understanding, but if you have a question about anything, if you hear an unfamiliar term like road flare, ask me how it works. And me and Doxy are actually creating a document this year which explains how to use a road flare. And we'll probably send a video link as to how to use it.
I'm going to be redundant.
Not let that happen again. And also remember, now you've been working all day, you've been stripping the plastics and the lighting out of your piece and stuff. Make sure that you have somebody in your crew who is prepared to feed your crew as the perimeter is getting set up. That people don't have to say that, oh, I'm going to head back to the camp and eat dinner. I'll be back in time to set up the perimeter or whatever. Because those people are going to go back, somebody's going to distract them, they're going to trip over the contact improvers in the cafe, hurt themselves or whatever. Better to have the dinner served at your piece and again building your community and building the tight group spirit than to dwindle off and then try to reform at some point. Be prepared to adjust the perimeter. Some of these pieces are going to be much hotter than others, and in the past we've seen that sometimes you've had to oblong certain perimeters because of either wind direction changes or massive heat results or lack of heat. So be prepared to adjust your perimeter. This is not a fixed stationary perimeter where you have to go on fire because Dave X said you have to be 50 feet away or whatever. You can move out, but make sure that you don't lose the continuity of that perimeter.
Remember that with bikes too, because a lot of times you set your bikes down, even though you're mobile, also you're pushing back and people trip over.
Yeah, again, good point. You set that dark wad of bikes right up there. So I have to go on the last thing here, and this is one of the most important things that was a huge screw up last year, was cleanup. Many projects came out right away and were there at 8 a.m. to do their cleanup. But a lot of projects were not. I came out and saw 1, 2, maybe 3 angry faces at some of these pieces who were bitter against all the rest of their people who participated in their group who did not come for the cleanup part. We've worked so hard to create regional community within this, and all of that can fall to pieces at the end when only 2 or 3 bitter people are at your place cleaning up, and they're forced to do the cleanup, and then you get back to your region, and they hate you for the rest of your life because they are the only people out there cleaning. So remember to have a plan, and don't make the people who stayed up all night to watch the burn do the cleanup at 8 a.m. Have a plan for your sober folks who went to sleep at midnight to show back up and do the cleanup, and then follow through with that plan. Don't sleep in at your tent thinking, I hope that somebody comes for the cleanup and is doing my job, because that's going to create terrible community relations within your group. Questions and answers we don't have any time for.
And you know everything at this point, right?
Right.
Okay, so I want you to wrap